Following on from the season premiere last week, which contained the first 2 episodes of Dark Matter, Apple's latest sci-fi piece continued on with the episode titled The Box. And yes, we learned a lot about the box, but also we learned basically nothing too, unless you speak science. With there being a third Jason teased, I think the ending of this episode most definitely looks like more Jasons and more realities are about to get explored. So with that, let's jump into the video and break down all that there was to take away from it. Here is Dark Matter Episode 3 Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The ending explained. So the ending of this episode was one which was pretty much focused on Jason 1 and Amanda getting inside of the box, whilst not knowing how to use it and hoping to escape from Leighton and Dawn, who were hoping to take him back to his cell. Within this episode, Jason 1 was found out to not be Jason 2, the person that everybody within Velocity Labs knew of, and it made them question what he did to the Jason that they previously thought he was. Within this episode, we found out the main reason as to why the box was created, although it wasn't explicitly stated. It was pretty much created so that people could travel to alternate realities where maybe there were cures to illnesses that weren't in others, learn them, bring them back, and then benefit the reality that they're from. If you've seen the TV show Invincible, it kind of reminds me of Angstrom Levy and his intention of when he wanted to combine the minds of all of the versions of himself from different realities to better his own. Leighton had this desire of wanting to know how to use it, but he doesn't have any idea, and it's something that's eating him up inside. So it makes me think that there was a level of mistrust between Leighton and Jason in this reality before Jason left. Let's also remember as well, when Jason 1 arrived in Jason 2's reality, he did recognize Leighton as he acknowledged him when he arrived, but we haven't actually seen him in Jason 1's reality. Could Leighton be dead there? Could they have fallen out? That's something that I'm intrigued to see, and I imagine it will come to fruition. We found out that on the day that Jason 2 made the decision to go into the box, he said how he saw an ex-girlfriend on the day that it happened. This was most probably Daniella. I'm imagining that on the day that he saw her, he realized that he'd made the biggest mistake of his life in walking away from her all of those years ago. Hence why he wanted to go to a reality where he ended up with her and could take the place of that Jason. Let's also remember as well, Jason 2's reality only exists because Jason 1 in his reality decided to put a stop to his work and spend his time and life with Daniella. With Jason 2 being this extremely successful person, I feel it kind of ties into the mindset that he has of thinking he could just walk into a reality and take the place like nothing had changed. With Jason 1 and Amanda getting inside the box at the end of the episode, we saw that they had the drug that Ryan created. The very thing that alters the brain chemistry of the prefrontal cortex to put certain elements to sleep for a short while. It essentially puts a human in superposition, and the drug then stops the brain from causing its own decoherence, allowing the box to work in the way that it was designed to, as not only can oneself not observe, but others around can't because of the way that the box was designed. With them waking up 3 minutes later due to their alarm that they set, we saw that the box had transformed into a corridor. So it seems as though in the reality that they've traveled to, they've stumbled into a world where there was never a box, but instead a corridor. The image for the next episode looks like a reality where the world had fallen to pieces, so they were successful in being able to escape Jason 2's reality, but at the same time, it looks like a world that has been destroyed by something different. There were a few interesting lines of dialogue in this episode where it hinted towards certain things that had happened in the past in Jason 2's reality. For example, Jason wasn't the first person to go into the box. There was somebody called Blair Kaplan who we saw was still alive in Jason 1's reality. She never returned to Jason 2's reality, and the 2 other volunteers that went afterwards never made it back either. I wonder if there are realities where the box just simply was never made and they can't find a way of getting back, or if they ended up being killed when they arrived there in the alternative realities. There was also an interesting moment when Detective Mason was interviewing Leighton about the disappearance of Jason. There was a key focus on Leighton's grandfather, who was said to have founded the company several decades ago. The camera lingered on this photo of Leighton with this mysterious man, so there's definitely some underlying importance that's going to be coming out as time goes on. Amanda seems to be the character that's the most human out of all of the people that work at Velocity Labs. She has morals, and there's a deep sense of regret inside of her over what happened to the people that went missing. This is why she ultimately decides to break out Jason. She's most probably going to be key to informing Jason 1 and also us, the viewers, as to what's been happening at Velocity Labs over the course of its existence and the project that they've all been working on. Jason 2 didn't actually get up to that much in this episode. We mainly just saw him navigating Jason 1's reality and trying not to mess up when dealing with all of the people that were around his house for dinner. The biggest moment for him though came when he saw Blair Kaplan alive and well in this reality. There was a moment where he almost messed up when he couldn't remember the hotel that himself and Daniella stayed at that he loved, but the research that he'd been doing on Jason's life was something that came in handy. He's watching everything back and doing all that he can to ensure that he doesn't slip up. With him watching Jason 1 on the night that he attacked him, he used the real events that happened, which was Jason 1 almost being hit by a car, and he morphed it into a story into how he changed his outlook on life, and that's why he's been acting so differently since that night in question. The ending of this episode was definitely an ominous one. Right now, Jason 2 is enjoying life, but I think he's going to get too comfortable and confident. It's not an act you can keep up forever, so I'm intrigued to see where and when he's going to slip up. My review of the episode. Personally, I don't think this episode was as good as the first 2 episodes, but it was still a really enjoyable one. There wasn't as much action within it, as that mainly came at the end when Jason and Amanda escaped within the box. This was more about us seeing both Jasons trying to navigate and manipulate the space and people that they were around. Whether that be Jason 2 trying to learn all about the connections that Jason 1 had in his world, or Jason 1 pretending to be Jason 2 but making out like he'd lost his memory from traveling through the box, so it was more about seeing how they reacted around other people. Joel Edgerton is doing a great job within this show for me. His delivery of both characters is extremely convincing, and you do genuinely feel like there are 2 different versions of himself that we're seeing, so I commend him for that. A couple of criticisms that I have in this episode though. Considering how much Jason loved Daniella, it didn't seem like he mourned her that much. Granted, it's not the Daniella that he knows, but it still looks like the person that he loves most, so I was surprised that he wasn't hurt for longer. Plus, during the climax of the episode, when Amanda's access was cut off within a couple of seconds of them being spotted, that was something that did confuse me. I just don't understand how they did it so quickly. But also, I don't understand why they didn't cut off Jason's access. So I think they should have just left both of the accesses open and working. The soundtrack during the climax was something that I absolutely loved. The almost synth-like drone that was present allowed the tension to build, and it made you feel the weight of the moment in question. So I was a huge fan of that. The show is building nicely, and it's slowly drip-feeding us information about the developments in the story, the realities, and everything that's going on. It's a slow burner, and with the complexities that this show has, I'm glad that it is. I'm quite happy to just have an episode where we're seeing the Jasons navigating the space, because it allows us to learn more about them and also the differences between the realities. The next episode, which is titled The Corridor, looks like it's going to be one that feels very different to the first few episodes. It almost looks like a post-apocalyptic world based on the image that Apple has released. And it also seems like the box isn't a box, but it's in fact a corridor. So I have a feeling that next week's episode could be the best one that we've seen so far. So, there you have it. Dark Matter Episode 3 Ending Explained. If you want to see episode breakdowns on Dark Matter, then click on the card in the top corner. Or alternatively, you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. Plus, you'll also find other sci-fi shows on Apple broken down as well, like Foundation. What did you think of this episode? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, thanks for tuning into the video, and I'll see you in the next one.